Hello, everybody. Welcome you all for this community meetup where we are actually trying to get to know what is it to build a system. So right now, there is no space for you to say, I want to learn this, I want to learn that, but getting to know the right tech is what is required. So now in our community, we just focus more on educating you, upskilling you, and making sure that you upskill and network. And so that's why we have an amazing community, which is Azure Developer Community. And I'm part of the Bengaluru chapter. And right now, there is a lot of opportunity for us because we are 7,000 plus community strong. And we have a lot of events which are coming up. And we are in 100 plus cities. And trust me, each one have their own capabilities. Like every person, every city has a new developer story. So right now you can join on with any of the communities and you can also see the past events that was being done. And also you can go on, become a community organizer, be a part of the herd that we are creating. Like this is a tech herd that we are just building for you all. Join, become an organizer or be a participant here. And also there's a speaker bureau here. You can connect with them. You can just ask them what to do and what not to be done. And you can also connect them for future sessions also. So this is it about my community, a brief intro about it. So I'm here with Aravind and one of the best engineers that you can afford to listen today because there are a lot of things that you can learn and I've learned a lot and I was so fascinated by the way he explained. So here he is with you guys teaching you what is this Elasticsearch search and everything on Azure. So over to you, Arvind.
Great. Thank you, Ishwas, and thanks everyone for joining on the Saturday morning. I know you might be just warming up today to see your plans on weekend, and we are already here with something to share. So I have previously done a few sessions with AZ Dev community, Azure developer community. I'm glad that I'm back here again with a very similar topic because a lot many people, how many times even I kind of share, they still want to interact and asking same questions, and it's because of new community members. It could be because of people who are like having questions. So what I would like to do today is like uh, you can ask as many as questions as you want. If you're just getting information, if you want to know more information, so you could do that. On the other hand, I would also recommend you to go and try this hands-on and let me know. I am I'm happy to help in any way. So I leave my credentials, I mean like my details, so that you could contact me. So that being said, I'll quickly share my screen. Vishwas, if you could put my screen up, and then we will do a bit of sharing, and then we'll go back, and I'll explain you everything in an architectural manner so that you understand. Maybe like not presentation. So let us take it very informal, even though it's a live stream, and I want to do it very informal so that you understand what I'm trying to explain it today. So basically, I'm going to talk about running Elasticsearch or Elastic Stack on Azure. So as you all know, Azure is a computing platform. It's a cloud platform, and there are multiple services wherein you could do multiple things. Like you could run specific programming language applications. You could do code related stuff using Azure DevOps and pipelines. I recently saw a session from Mandana about the same. So there are many things that you could do with Azure: machine learning, data science, data gathering, a lot of things, right? So it's a great platform to build your stuff. So as well as like a great skilling platform so that you could learn and then like probably share on similar platforms as well. Like come to a meetup and tell you what you have done. So today I'm going to talk about running Elasticsearch or running Elastic's ecosystem product on the Azure, and ways to do it, and as well as I'll also show you the latest update in this entire thing, like how you can get started with Elasticsearch on like Microsoft Azure as a service, like just like your app service or just like your message streaming service or different native services. If you are not sure about what I'm talking, I'll also explain that as well. So first of all, let me give you a brief introduction of myself. I'm Arvind. I work at Elastic as a developer advocate. I kind of like speak at multiple meetups. I build demos, blogs, and a lot of stuff. That being said, nowadays there is not much travel, but I also used to travel and speak to a lot of developers in various cities that use and take back the feedback to the engineering and product teams, and thereby do a lot of improvement in the product. So there are many things that we do in the community team. So if you have questions about my role, my job, what I do, how you should get into all of these things, happy to help. Please let me know. Now, other point of view is like Elasticsearch is a very popular free and open search engine, and a lot many people use it for different sort of use cases. Like say, for example, it could be like search. So building search engines, like I'm trying to explain the use cases rather than like just going around, or building or building like DevOps systems. Like if you have CI/CD, if you want to build a continuous integration, continuous deployment system, and then you want to monitor that, or if you want to like monitor your infrastructure, like doing something related to like what's happening in your infrastructure, you could do that. And then you also have several other stuff, like in the same space. Like if you want to check whether a service is running, it's called uptime or status, right? You can check the status. If you want to find out your how your web application is performing, like web app performance, you can do that. So all of these are metrics from the infrastructure world, which is also like nowadays called with different names. Like you have observability, which is like improving this how the data is looking like, etc., etc. So that's about the part. So I'll just make this left center so that you can see it easily, and I can also type. So that is another use case that people use. And then another use case is like where people from security background. So if you are a security analyst or an information security person, then you might very well using some sort of a SIEM or EDR or sort of endpoint protection, or you are trying to defend your assets in your company. So then there are a lot of security use cases. Elasticsearch is used for security analytics, or SIEM, now latest EPP, like the endpoint protection as well, with the addition of endgame sensor. We are also having a great partnership between the SIEM and EPP, so that like we are bringing in something called Elastic Agent, through which you'll be able to do a lot of stuff. So that is one another part. So like three use cases that I tell, but like there are many other use cases. Like suppose say if you want to use it like a data store, like just like your MongoDB. Elasticsearch is not a relational database like your MySQL, Postgres, SQL, or something, but Elasticsearch is a NoSQL data store. So you could use it like a NoSQL data store with an addition of all these features, aggregation, search, etc. I'll also try to show you that by deploying. So I'll do more showing than by doing the demo, rather than showing slides and particularly avoiding. So if you are interested in like kind of getting to know more about what do you call the demo, I mean the slides part, please let me know. I'll do that itself. But then I'm making sure that you have some you get to know what I'm explaining as a like just a video, etc. So data store is one another thing. And then you have and then you also have like a lot many people use Elasticsearch for apart from search use cases, they also use it for different sort of analytics, like business analytics. And there are very unique use cases as well. There is a case study on how Tinder uses Elasticsearch to do recommendation, building recommendation engine, etc. So that is also a use case. So all of this is possible with the Elasticsearch, which is like I said, distributed, NoSQL, and like rest based. I'll explain each one of them. Rest based data store, so which helps you to do all of this. It is primarily a search engine, so you might find it like doing more searchy related stuff. So that is the idea here. So Elasticsearch is available. I mean, the source code is available on GitHub, so you could always go and look at the source code. So that is always there. Maybe contribute, maybe take a look at what are the different sort of distributions or code that is being built. You also have other projects that are like, Kibana, which is a visualizer which sits on Elasticsearch, which is also there in here. So I would not specifically say like, Elasticsearch uh, is something that you could probably like, use it for one use case. You can use it for multiple use cases. So Kibana, and then you also have Logstash, which is used for which is like a ETL. If you don't know what is ETL, it's like extract, transform, and it does like, loading of data into a space. So that is one thing. Kibana is the visualizer which sits on Elasticsearch. So these are the three basic components which forms ELK. Like this way people call it ELK. Then there are many things like you have the beats. Then you have many things like the APM, which collects traces from your applications if you're an application developer. So there are many things. So I just don't want to confuse you, and I just want to show you how this looks like and what are the things that you could specifically do, and what this database can do, and etc. 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 So any questions up till now? I don't see any questions. So if you have any questions, please feel free to drop me in a note, and then we can continue. So in this session, what I'm going to do is like I'm going to directly show the Azure portal, and then I'm going to directly show you the Elasticsearch service that is there. So if you see here, Elastic has partnered with Microsoft Azure, and then brought you this service, which is very native to the Azure platform. So this is Elasticsearch as a native service. So you could just simply go click create, and then create this Elasticsearch cluster on your Azure portal, which is completely managed here. But then you have more details. If you want to change some information, you could go there and do that stuff. So how do you do this? Like you go to the search bar, and then like, you can type, you can search for Elasticsearch. And okay, I have typed the wrong name, but it still serves the right name. So and then you have the Elasticsearch, Elastic Cloud Services. Under services, you also have the marketplace things, which is also the same. But do remember that you always choose something that is original. So Elastic and is the one that originally produces all the binaries and everything. So that's where the things are. So let us quickly create Elasticsearch cloud, and then we'll create a cluster. We'll see how it really looks like. So if I click on create cluster, and then it asks me the resource group. So I have the Elastic community, and I'm using that resource group. And then I have AZ dev. Let me choose the AZ dev meetup. So that is a thing. And then like I have few regions, because this is a preview service. We are going to add more and more regions into the Azure. Our original service has a lot of regions, like, this is a preview. It's a beta thing that you are seeing. So that's why you have less regions, but we look forward to add more and more regions. But this is how you could also see multiple sizes, multiple infrastructure sizes, etc. And then we'll quickly click on review by directly going to the end, but I will choose another steps to show you what and all you can do. So I'm not sure if it is visible, but if you see here, you have logs and metrics. What you could also do is like, you could send the activity logs from the Azure to this Elasticsearch cluster. You would also send all the defined resource logs from the Azure resources. So if I click on here, it will show you what are the different resources, what are the different log sources, like, account category, account management, tenants, whatnot. Like, there are a ton of things that you could pull in from the Microsoft Azure platform. So all those, by just creating that, you could simply pull the data sources into the Elasticsearch and do all of this. So that is one another one another thing that you could do. Optionally, you could also, like, exclude a specific type of resource, or a name, or a detail, etc. So you could also do that. So we are not going to do that. We're going to do a simple plain cluster, because the reason is it is beginner cluster, so I just want you to learn basics and not overly complicate in the initial step itself. So I just don't want to confuse you more. Maybe you're getting started with Azure, so you're just new to everything, so I don't want to complicate. And then you can attach a tag and then click on review. It will validate the configuration that you have given, say specific name was there, or the resource group exists or not, and various other stuff, the subscription is valid or not, etc., etc. And then I have obviously disabled the send to all of this, and click on create. So by clicking create, you would automatically see the deployment is progress. It will take a minute or so to create this deployment. Once it is deployed, and then we'll get information onto the cluster is created, the URL of everything given, and then you can directly click and start looking at the things. If you want to understand how the operation is happening, what and all is happening, like, you could also go and look at the create running and more information on that as well. So yeah, I guess if you have any questions still, I mean, I'm happy to answer. Meanwhile, feel free to, like, uh, answer the questions. Yeah, I mean, if you have questions, please feel free to ask. I don't see any specific questions. Okay.
Yeah, there are no questions, I think. So like that's fine.
Yeah, no problem. I guess folks are just
Guys, but
warming up.
do ask the questions. Like as soon as you get it out, just type it down there so we can address it in a later part.
Yeah, one of the things of unfortunate things of doing meetups on online is you lose access to, like, talking to people, whether they understand or not, and whether they have what sort of question, etc., etc. So feel free. I just want it to be very informal and do, I mean, like, do learn things. That's how you could learn in the virtual world. Otherwise you'll not be able to answer. So I'm happy to answer questions. So if you have any, meanwhile, let us go ahead and see some more stuff about the Elastic and Elastic ecosystem. So if you want to get started, like, just get started, and to run Elasticsearch on your laptop, or like, not directly on Azure, but you just want to get started. So what you could do is, like, go to the products, and if you see here, there are multiple links here. Go to the products and see there are three different things that I explained, like search, observability, and security. But you want to deploy it on your laptop and try it on your own and build whatever it is, like, your own programming language, etc. So I'll click on deploy now. That will take me to a downloads page, which shows all the downloadables. Say if I want to download Elasticsearch, I'll click download, and then I'll see all the different sort of versions. Now Elasticsearch is also available for Windows. If you're running a Windows laptop, you could download the binary here, as well as Mac OS, etc. If you are on Mac, all right, you could also use the homebrew, which I use, like, just to brew get Elasticsearch. It will, or install the tab and then, like, get the Elasticsearch. You could do that. Or if you want more complexity and want to run it on Docker, you also have a docker.elastic.co, where you have all the images that you could download. Just do docker pull Elasticsearch, which will pull the Elasticsearch related information. So yeah, the details are given here. Now this is great for downloading, but after downloading, what you would do, you need a quick start guide, right, to get started. So you can click here on the getting started guide, which I click right now, here. Or what you could also do is, like, https elastic.co/docs will take me to this particular documentation page, the entire product documentation page. At this point of time, it might look a lot. We are trying to optimize it. We are trying to make it better. So I'm sorry. It is going to come very soon, and then I can, like, I think you're going to see a big change in the very soon in the upcoming days. So that is one thing. But then you go to Elasticsearch guide, and then you click on quick start. There you see the basics and getting started stuff. So the reason why I showed you this is, like, a lot many people get started with the whole ecosystem without even doing the basics. So please do the basics. Just understand what is getting started with Elasticsearch. What are the basic steps that you need to learn, like index terms, etc., etc. So there's also a detailed glossary, I think, which is missed somewhere. Let me show you that. I think what I'll search. Okay, so there's a detailed glossary which is there under Elastic Glossary. So you could go and look at what is what, so that if you have a doubt on the terminology itself, just go here and search, say for example, data stream. Like if you have something, if that you see a data stream, so it will show you what is a data stream. So, and then you could probably go and learn what data stream is, what are different stuff. If you want to learn about a specific phrase like alias, and then you could see what is an alias. So or Kibana, right? Kibana, like what is Kibana and all. You could see all of these easily. So I would definitely recommend you to kind of take a look at that. Uh, yeah. So I believe that meanwhile this is done, and also see if there are any questions. Yeah. Any good extension? There is one question from Ameya. Like, if you could highlight which was like any good extension you would suggest for VS Code for Terraform. Uh, so I'm not talking about Terraform, but then there is one official extension, I guess. You should definitely be able to find on the marketplace. So which would help you. But I guess I think that any extension for Terraform, I don't think you will see a lot of help unless autocomplete. I would recommend going through the documentation and then looking at stuff like that. Okay, and another question from Sudhama is like how different logs at subscription and log for resources would be. Are these activities logs can be collected from logs from within the VM, meaning guest OS level? So okay, good question actually. So I have some idea on some idea on some stuff, and I don't have a complete idea on the extensive platform. So which I also need to refer the documentation, to be really honest. So what we are trying to do is like activity. There are two types of logs, like two or three types of log categories in Azure. You could also find this in the Azure module. Let me show you that. Meanwhile, while I'm explaining this, so basically you have this different types of logs. Activity logs, what it does is this is metric bit. Activity logs will collect the activities. Let's say if I created this deployment, I have deleted a VM, I have added a VM, I have changed a user. So those are activity logs. So those are related to your subscription. And see, for example, there's a bits module which will help you to explain you all of that. Let me see if I could show you. Yeah, see, if you see that there are metric bit modules. So let me show you the file bit module. Yeah, so the file bit module will have this activity logs, yeah, sign in logs and audit logs. So we are collecting the activity logs whenever I'm trying to explain you that, when you check box that, it will get the subscription related logs. And the other type of logs is related to the resources. Say for example, if you want to collect logs from Microsoft AD, that service that you have created, and that service is linked. So because we are running in the subscription, we could make a connect and pull that particular resources itself. I could go to the resource, or I can let me go to the resource, or I'll show you again. So this is the resource. Let me see it later, or let me click the Kibana, and then we'll come back again on how it is done. So okay. Elasticsearch should show you this cluster. But then if I want to create it again, and then you see here, source code, community name. Okay, Azure Day. Let me put this name. It should be there. Next, logs and metrics. Like if you see here, you have the subscription logs, subscription activity logs, and the other one is resource log for all defined resources. So anything is a resource in Azure, right? So within the perimeter of whatever I have in my subscription, and there are multiple defined sources, which I explained it here. Like if you see here, if I click on this, there are multiple resources. Like and each resource is denoted with a specific ID name, right? Microsoft.API management./service, Microsoft.app platform for Spring, and Microsoft.app platform / something else. So you have these sort of things which are which are there in the Microsoft, and you could collect specific information from those. And there is also explanation on would it cost to export that log into it. Otherwise, you could also use Event Hub to pull in all the logs and then like collect it from that event streaming service. So you could do all of that. So like I said, there are many things. Like Microsoft itself says list is largely auto generated, and you might have more than this or less than this, or there are updates to it. So it is not so easy to kind of like look into this. So yeah, so that is an important question that you asked. Thank you for asking that question. And I guess I hope that I helped you. But then we also have this sort of installing the agent at a VM level, so that we could say, for example, if there are virtual machines, there are so many virtual machines. So if I want to like install my agent, install an extension, install do something, so I could do that using this particular service. So that's the beauty of this service. I'm so excited at, because it lets me deploy the cluster native to Azure, and it lets me manage everything. It is so integrated well. And then I could also do access control, some limit, some information related to it. And I could also go and like collect logs from the subscription. I could install and then do more. So this is so useful if you are on Azure, if you are on the Azure and you're learning Azure, and if you have to create this sort of experience for your customers or your users or your company itself. This is very useful. So that's what I'm trying to explain you here actually. So yeah, these are the filters that I applied, I guess. So that's why it's showing these information. Yeah, great. So so I hope I answered your question. Like if you have more questions, feel free to ask more questions. I'm happy to help. So let me quickly log into this session. Like what I did here, I kind of like clicked on the Kibana URL, and which took me to the Kibana page actually automatically. And then I clicked on the my account, that where my Microsoft has my Microsoft account, and then like it logged me into the Kibana cluster. I'll show you that. So you all know that the resource group, status healthy, which region we have deployed, what is the version of the cluster, what size of it, and then the subscription. If you have any additional changes, you could go and change it in the console that is very specific to Elastic. Even though there are many details, lot many details are still not exposed to the this particular service. And if you have any feedback, if you want to understand more, please feel free to uh, give more information, and we are happy to like kind of take that feedback and give to the product team, so that we could help you. So I clicked on that particular Kibana link and I logged in, and I see this UI. So if you are new to Kibana, don't worry, it's a UI on top of Elasticsearch. All that you could do on Elasticsearch is you could do most of it on Kibana, like running queries, building visualizations, doing aggregations, etc. You could also, if you are really new and you quickly want to get some shows your friend something, like click on the upload file and you can upload a CSV or JSON or a specific log file. You could do that actually. So what I'll do is like I'll click on try out sample data, and there is a sample data that you could install, and I'll click install add data to all of this, so that we have this sample data actually. So if you can add data here, so that the data will be ingested into the the cluster. So this is just a sample data for you to see on the demo. I'm just adding that to do that. So one more thing I can show you here is I'll go to the dev tools part of it, where I could execute APIs on Elasticsearch. So Elasticsearch is a API based system, and then you have a lot of APIs that you could play around with, and that API data is like kind of shown into a UI or a visualized manner using Kibana. So what I do is like I know that this is very small, so I'll increase the font to 24 so that you could all see. So there is nothing as of now in the Elasticsearch cluster. There might be some information related to uh, the things, but then like this is the cluster version that you're seeing. Like say cluster name, cluster UID, version number, what type of build. Like I said, you could run also Docker. This is a Docker related thing, and then build hash, compatibility, etc., etc. So yeah, this is how you could get started. And then if you want to like create a index and then start ingesting data, or like you want to create a app, so you could do like post az dev meetup and slash underscore doc slash one. So one is not the primary key, it's just an arbitrary number that you could use. This goes in as your ID of the document, but it's not like the primary key that you see in the databases, etc. So open up, say like, uh, whatever title, and Elastic on Azure and Terraform, and then you have uh, meetup name. So I'll just say Azure Developer Community Bangalore. So I have this document which is going to be listed as a document here, and then you see that it is created. If I want to search for this particular document, I'll look at az dev meetup slash underscore search, which is a random simple search, and then I could go and get this document, which is there. If I want to ingest one more document, so I'm just trying to show you the basic CRUD operations, nothing more than that. So I'm just showing the create, read, delete, update kind of operations. So say if I want to uh, pipelines, and then the same meetup, and if I add more, and then if I search, you will see that two details. But if I want to access that specific document, I could still use the doc1 doc2 kind of a thing to find out the information, provided ID is not your primary key. It is not a unique, or like something, it is unique, but then like it is not something that you assume in your relational database, etc. So these are like meta information that is associated with a document in a Elasticsearch cluster. So there are many stuff, like you could do different type of queries on Elasticsearch. You could ingest different types of data and look into things. So that's why I ingested and sample data. So let me see if you have more questions, and um, and then like we'll probably get back. Like another question that I see here from Sudama is, we can install agent on multiple VMs, let's say numbers in thousands centrally. Yes, you could install agents like in hundreds of thousands, and you could get data. So that is quite possible, and that is doable. So it is not like it is not doable, it's definitely doable. Okay, so that is the thing that we have. And let me go back to the place where I came from, like the sample data that we have. So say if I have similar sort of data with timestamp attached, if I have a similar sort of data which sort of intros you various information, like say if I want to collect show the web logs, I can go to the sample data that I ingested, which creates this index and ingest some data, and upon which I am creating these visualizations, through which I'll be able to find out all of this. Actually, end of the day, this is a query that is getting fired. Let me show you the request. um, this is just a query, like how I typed that query, underscore slash, etc., etc. So this is just a query that is getting fired, and I'm getting a response in terms of this particular thing, and that response 820 is shown in the visualization. So this 820 increases, this visualization changes. You could also download this data and see all of this actually. So you could download this data as a CSV, etc., etc. So that's always possible. So I have these information which is represented in different places, and different visualization, in different views. Say for example, this is my favorite chart which I keep showing. These two are my favorite charts which I keep showing. Say for example, if you want to monitor the number of meetings that you do in a day, and most time that you are occupied in a week for a month, say hours of the day, like you have 24 hours, and how many meetings that you have on a specific hour. You could see like on a specific day, like say during 11 to 4 or 11 to 2, you have this particular meeting. So this is not that particular visualization I'm talking about, whatever the concept that I'm explaining, but this is something that is very relevant to that you could use, like a heat map. Like say, when is the traffic on street during the last 24 hours, like it is during this time to this time, like 9 to 5, right? So you could find that patterns or heat map, and then you can point out to that data easily actually. And similarly, like if you want to find out where the traffic uh, to my website is coming from, which country, say that is the source and destination Sankey chart. If you see, like you see a lot of data is coming from China, and then like a lot of data is coming from India, and a bit of data is coming from Japan, and bit of data is coming from US. So these each connection represents probably an IP address or a specific particular region that it is showing, etc. Like this is the weblog, and that's where you see all this information. You also have the maps actually, so you see that how much of data is being shown from this particular what do you call the information that is shown here. Like if you see, there's a lot of data that is coming from Asia as well. Okay, let me zoom in. Yeah, so there's a lot of data that is coming from Asia, India, China, etc., etc. So most information, like you could visualize in a different format, different ways, and you could also select to a specific country. You could do all of this data visualization, slicing and dicing of data, etc., using Kibana. Kibana is a great resource to do analytics, do infrastructure monitoring, collect logs, metrics, and install agents. And all of this also can be automatable. You could also do it at scale, and you could get information into Elasticsearch and then put a Kibana, and then simply boom, you will find a lot of information. So all of this with native to Azure, and that I'm showing you in an Azure service. So I think which should be interesting for you if you go and explore. So do explore this and let me know what you think. This is a preview service. It's only available. I mean, it's not a GA service, so that you could go and submit feedback and let us know if there is any problems, and we are happy to help you. So that being said, I'll just quickly show you some more information. I don't want to ride you on the slides. That's why I showed you this thing. Elasticsearch is very extensive. You don't have only sessions like these, like beginners. We do very deep sessions, specific sessions. So please consider joining the community.elastic.co, where we run a lot of events, such as this one. And there are many events happening all the time. And then we have a Slack group. If you want to join Slack group, please join. Uh, like I said, Elasticsearch is quite extensive. There are many topics, and I only covered the tip of the iceberg, even not the tip, very, very basics, because I just want to show you the service and get you initiated into this. That's it, and show you what are the possibilities that you have, and not do a very deep dive session. So apart from that, we also have a YouTube channel. So I would definitely recommend you to go and take a look at it. Like we do special sessions, and we have a lot of content that you want to probably go and take a look at. So that is one thing that you can go and look at actually. So this is one thing that you could take a look at. Yeah, so that's it from my side. And if you have more questions about myself, or like the talk that I have given, feel free to ask more questions, and I'm happy to help. Yeah. Over to you, Vishwas, again, if you are there and available. Okay, I guess Vishwas is not available or online at this point. Maybe I'll just check. So there is one more thing that you could also go and look at here that I didn't mention is you could also go and take a look at the monitoring part, when you can monitor the cluster itself, like whatever you are running, you can also go and look at the monitoring itself, so that there are stuff like that you could enable and look at how your whatever you're trying to do, how that is performing. So you could also do that meta monitoring thing as well. So that is something that you could always do. So I guess we don't have Vishwas, so let me quickly ping him or ask him so that he's available. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, and I'm happy to help. So Elasticsearch also has multiple language clients through which you can write apps using as Elasticsearch as a backend. Like say, for example, if you go to the docs again, and then you search for clients, and you have this Elasticsearch client, you have a JavaScript specific client like a Node.js package that you could install, and then you could simply use the APIs. That is one way, and other ways is like you have the different sort of packages, Java jars, Rust clients, Golang client, etc., etc. So you also have a lot of community contributed clients. Like say, if you want to do a client for Erlang and someone has already done it, so you could use the Erlang client, etc., etc. So you could do that. And all of this is also like if you find a bug in the documentation and if you want to do an open source contribution, all of this is also available on the the site. So please the GitHub, so you could also make a contribution as well using that. Yep. Great. I guess.
Thank you, Aravind. Thank you so much for the session.
Yep.
I think, guys, if you have any questions, do drop it down here so that we can address it and you guys can get to know what is actually happening behind the hood of using this elastic stack and things like that. And yeah, guys, do drop it down in the comment section below.
Great. So I think that's it from my side, Vishwas. And then if you have more questions, I'm happy to take later as well. So I guess if we are ready with the next speaker, we could move on and do that.
Yes, I think we are ready with the next speaker now. Yeah, I think you all learned a lot about Elastic Stack now and what it is happening with respect to the Azure. I think probably the DevOps part of actually doing what with the Terraform. You guys asked about the Terraform, right? I think Mallikarjun sir is going to give you an amazing overview about what it is. And yes, I think hello,
Hi,
Mallikarjun sir. Hi,
good afternoon
and
there. Almost good morning, good afternoon.
yeah, it's good morning there
Hope
as
I'm
well.
audible. Yeah.
Yep, you're audible. Yes, you're audible.
Hi, Arvind.
Hey,
It was
hi,
nice.
hi.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I just want to it's fine. I think we should go ahead because it's less time, and then I people were probably waiting for a lot many things Terraform, and I'm happy to help on the comments as and when your session is happening. Yeah, let's quickly get started.
Sure.
Yes, and Mallikarjun sir, you can share your screen, and yeah, we can go on.
Yeah. Let me share the screen. You're able to see the screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So let's continue shows, or we'll wait for a few more minutes to people to join, or this is a continuous live session.
Yeah, it's a continuous session. If you want, if you feel that you're ready, then you can continue with the session.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Hey, good morning, folks. Myself, Mallikarjun. Yes, I think this one of the item. I think it's long pending item to discuss about Azure and then Terraform, and how we can using the Azure DevOps and how we can achieve the infrastructure automation. The right now in the current market that Terraform is one of the one tool, the which is catching up, and then which is a cloud agnostic tool where you can deploy your infrastructure uh, seamlessly. Yeah. So let's learn about that. this today's agenda. We'll see what is infrastructure automation, why it is required, and then what is desired state configuration, and then when it comes to automation, in Azure, what we have, okay, and why we will go for Terraform and then DevOps. We'll see that, and one of the in Azure we have a resource manager template using ARM templates. Also, we can do the using Azure DevOps using the ARM templates. We can do the automation too, and then we'll see what is the difference between ARM template and then Terraform, and how they differentiate between them, and why we are going ahead with the Terraform, right? And we'll see about Azure DevOps. So how do we achieve this infrastructure automation using Azure DevOps and then the Terraform, and how we are going to deploy the let's say the most common item, the compute virtual machine, which will be deployed onto the Azure using Azure DevOps. We'll see that during the demo. And don't hesitate. This is the platform. Flux, you have to put your questions, whatever you're facing in the real time. If you have anything, if you're a beginner or an intermediate or an expert, don't hesitate to put the question. Please go ahead and don't wait for the Q&A section. You can put the question in between. When I see there is a question popped out here, definitely I'll try to answer. Yeah. Let's move on to the presentation. Yeah. So myself, I have 14 years of experience working with various enterprises. I think the cloud journey, as we have picked up the cloud journey for last 4 years, I've been working in cloud, and then I'm the DevOps leader. These are my few of certifications. I'm the certified expert in the Kubernetes and containers and OpenShift when it comes to container platform, and I'm the DevOps certified expert in Azure. And you can reach me. I mean, you can I have a channel whenever I have events which I'm conducting. I'll be sorry. You can follow me on the channel, and then you can connect me on the email in case if you want to write and you have any questions to me. You can one-to-one you can write, and then I'll respond when I'm available. Or you can follow me and connect me on the LinkedIn too. Yeah. Yes. Infrastructure automation. Who is it for? Right? You may be a developer, or you may be a administrator who is looking at an SRE. I mean, who is doing the operations, monitoring, scalability, or a developer who wants to quickly deploy your application. You know, you want to have when you as a developer you want to run any kind of service into your cloud. You need to have a setup, right? Infrastructure setup to run your workloads in cloud. So you can quickly deploy as a developer. If you can use the Azure DevOps and then quickly deploy the infrastructure, and then start testing whatever you let's say you're testing your Python app or you're testing any other application. You can do that. So here, what with the infrastructure automation, you're getting your hands free, and let's see what is that. Yeah, it is about the faster and consistent, right? And today why I'm saying how it is reduced human interactions. Okay, let's say you want to have a virtual machine, for example. You said I need a 4 CPU and 8 GB RAM, and this is the kind of information, for example. And all these configuration parameters of a virtual machine is kept in a simple plain single page, and then you will be going to deploy that, and you may destroy that. Again, you come next day, you do the same. So you're not going to put any kind of efforts when you're trying to deploy means you're not going to go and select each and every item there, right? So using the infrastructure automation, as a tool, the everything configuration will be kept in the files. Yes, this is one of that. Yeah, it will decrease all your time, what it takes to provision and configure the new infrastructure. As I said, in the cloud world, I mean, if you're not able to deploy if still we are trying to deploy manually the virtual machines into the cloud infrastructures, then we'll not get the agileness, and we'll not be able to speed up to the market in the cloud journey. So one of the cloud strategies, we should have the infrastructure automation when we are starting the cloud journey. And then the next item is application deployment. Maybe we want to have application configuration For example, you have a virtual machine and you need to have a Tomcat inside that. You can do that. You can create a VM and then you can deploy your application inside. So both can be done in a single, kind of a deployment in a stage-wise manner. I will show that too. So, as I said, you are trying to set up a certain parameters. So every day you come, you deploy your infrastructure, it will be deployed the same way every single time you run your infrastructure. So it is not that, hey, I forgot yesterday I enabled this, today you would be forgetting it. One of the feature, let's say you created a VM, let's say you want to enable one of the boot diagnostics on the VM, you enabled it. Maybe in the next day you come and you're trying to create a VM and you may forget to enable the boot diagnostic, which was required. So if the infrastructure, with the infrastructure automation, you have all the configurations ready in a single pane where you deploy the same configuration every time you deploy it. Yeah, this is one of the advantage. I mean, let's say you configured a configuration and then you leave it to your team, the developers. They'll be using the same file. There won't be any changes. There won't be any variability when it comes to new infrastructure. You have created a VM1 now, and then you are trying to create a VM2. Still, the VM1 and VM2 will have the same specs, right? So here, that kind of variability can also be decreased using the infrastructure automation. Yeah, I think the developers would definitely love this. Developer needs a free hand when it comes to run all kind of workloads quickly, as a developer, and as an administrator, definitely too. When it comes to automation. So moving on to, we call that as an infra ops, or you call that as a term infrastructure as a code, right? So what we are trying to do, you will have an infrastructure in the Azure infrastructure that you are putting in a piece of your code, right? So we'll see that what is that for the beginners. What do you mean by infrastructure as a code? As I said, it reduces the human interactions, what we discussed about, and it will have a manual task which will be associated, and then you will be putting all your operational cloud-based IT infrastructure into the infra ops, right? So there are many other tools which are available, right? When you want to do the infrastructure as a code. So you can have a Chef, Puppet, SaltStack. Then you have a Terraform, HashiCorp, Terraform or a HashiCorp Packer for imaging and all. If you want to create your images, you can use the HashiCorp Packer. And the popular tools. These are the popular tools where if you want to manage cloud-based IT infrastructure, these are the tools. For today's agenda, we are going to discuss about Terraform. I just want to present here what are the cloud other available tools. So next thing is that desired state configuration, right? As I said, what is desired state? Means you are deciding a state and you're trying to achieve the same state. Let's say you put some kind of configuration in a virtual machine, and somebody in between somebody came and changed it. So with the desired state configuration, it will revert the config state to the previous one. So you don't need to worry about any changes which is being done manually. So this is all about, there is a multiple ways to achieve the desired state configuration. For the Windows, you have a PowerShell desired state configuration, and then Ansible is one of the powerful tool for managing the configuration as a code. It has a simple Ansible files will have what you call the configuration as a present or absent. If you say present, it will ensure that the configuration is present on the whichever the application which you're validating on. Let's say you say the YAML file, for example, let's say my Java OPTS of a Tomcat should be 512 MB. It will check whether it is 512 MB. If it is not present, it will do the change. So otherwise, if change is the expected change is already present, it will leave as it is. So the one of the after Terraform, the Ansible is going to be the one of powerful tool for configuration as code, CAC. So desired state configuration is nothing but you are ensuring the state of the configuration. When you run the Ansible YAML file, what it does, it will ensure that whatever is configuration kept in the file is ensured that the same configuration is there in the system. Yeah, this is what the desired state configuration is about. We talked about infrastructure as a code. Now there is another thing is configuration as a code. in the cloud journey, definitely you should adopt these things, infrastructure as a code or a configuration as code, so that your cloud journey going to be more hybrid approach. Okay. uh, Now we talked about infrastructure automation, why would require, and then as the infrastructure automation tools, we discussed about Terraform, and then desired state, we discussed about something Ansible. Now we are going to have a DevOps. We'll see what is DevOps. So DevOps is it is not a it is all about the tools and techniques, right? When it comes to DevOps, each and every organization will have their own tools. Maybe one organization may be using Jenkins as a tool, one organization may be using Circle CI, and then somebody may use the development methodology as waterfall. Some may follow the agile methodologies. So DevOps is you cannot decide today is DevOps is one, right? DevOps is a combination of tools and techniques, how you want to achieve the what is your desired or desired application, right? Deployments to DevOps. Now we'll see how Azure DevOps will suit here. So Azure will have the two kinds of offerings, Azure DevOps Services and Azure DevOps Server, where Azure DevOps Services is a cloud offering, which is a SaaS offering uh, by Microsoft. And then you have Azure DevOps Server. I think in case if you want to have hosted Azure DevOps Server, you can host it on your on-premises data centers. So today we'll see what is Azure DevOps Services here. Azure DevOps Services has kind of a boards. Then it has a repos to maintain your code. Boards are nothing but you just want to plan your activities and track who is doing what, right? You can have your agile boards created there, and then you can see your all the kind of product backlog features. I think in Azure DevOps, when you're trying to create a project, you can create a basic project or a Scrum. You know, there are multiple options available when you're trying to create a project. While creation of the project, you can select the project called Scrum project. Then automatically the boards and everything will be. It has some CMMI. I think is one of the session which I given on pure the Azure DevOps beginner. Maybe you can follow my YouTube channel and look at it. What is really what Azure DevOps services is all about, right? Here these task is nothing but to plan track your work, okay, basically. uh, and then you have a repo. Is repo is nothing but a cloud hosted private git, where it's a git compliant, it's a git repo. You can put all your code here. And then we have pipelines here. Let's say pipelines are divided into build pipelines or release pipelines. We'll see that how these pipelines and where you can find the CI pipeline or a release pipeline. Yeah, test plans also, it has a test plan, so you can run your tests, and then you can incorporate in your DevOps pipeline using your test plans. You can do that. And then we have artifacts. Yes, in case if you want the NuGet packages, or let's say you want to have a Tomcat library, or if you want to any pipeline which you ran, like a Docker build files, or let's say you want, let's say for example, a Terraform plan we talk about. You can store the Terraform plan in your artifacts. So these the great feature of Azure DevOps Services, which is all-in-one packed. You have you can plan your task, you can have your code here, and then you can build your release pipelines, and then build pipelines. You have your build and take it to the next release pipeline, right? Once you build, you can have the build artifacts in the Azure DevOps artifacts itself. In case if you have any test plans which you need to incorporate before the build is getting to the release, right, going to production, you can incorporate them. So this is all about Azure DevOps Services offering, right? So this is where the Azure DevOps Services software as a service fits in the DevOps cycle, right? DevOps cycle is nothing but you code, you plan, you build, test, and then release it, right? That is what we do in the CI/CD process of any of the DevOps processes, right? So this is where the Azure DevOps fits in, right? So so far what we have seen, why we need infrastructure automation, and then what tools are available, right, like a Terraform, a Chef, or Puppet. And then for the desired state configuration, we have seen Ansible, and then PowerShell desired state configuration Those are the tools which are available when you want to maintain the desired state configuration. Also, Terraform also supports that. We'll see how that state. Now, when it comes to Azure automation, sorry, not automation, Azure, there are multiple ways, you can do some automations. So you should not get confused. You will see many items here, right? So Azure Automation is nothing but it is a kind of a run books where you want to do certain tasks on the VMs, but it is not to create the infrastructure. It is rather to manage the infrastructure. You can use the Azure Automation, right? So in case if you want to create infrastructure, you need to either look for ARM templates or a Azure Bicep or a Terraform. But you should not get confused with Azure Automation. Azure Automation is the where kind of a tool where Azure Runbooks, where you can target the virtual machines to maintain to do some management of the virtual machines. Yeah, that is all about Azure Automation. I just want to present a difference here so that people not get confused. And then we talked about ARM templates, right? The ARM templates are the way to deploy the the resources into Azure. So basically, you can create, delete, or you can do all kind of operations. But this is in a JSON format, you know. So that is where the little difficulty comes into picture. We'll see how it is. What is the JSON format in the next slide. Now we have Azure Bicep. Even I think Bicep, using Bicep, you can do the Azure infrastructure automation. Maybe another session will run on the Azure Bicep. And then using Terraform, we can do the infrastructure automation where you can deploy all kind of Azure resources. Complete infrastructure you can deploy using the Terraform. Terraform is the HashiCorp product. Yeah, let's see the how I said the. So these are the differences. Let's say you are trying to, a small piece of a code, how it would look like. Okay, let's say you want to output the host name. You want to get an output. Let's say VM is created. You want to get the VM host name outside. Means you want to print that right to the console. So how it look like? It is a JSON format. You see the ARM template JSON. This is what the code looks like. When it comes to Bicep, it is a quite it is the but it's clear single line string where you want to print the host name. When it comes to Terraform, this is how it look like. So these are the simple differences I would like to present here. How it look like, what is the difference between these programming languages, right? When you want to run the infrastructure as a code. Even Bicep allows you to there is something called in Terraform and Bicep, you can have a state. State is nothing but whenever you're trying to deploy your infrastructure, it stores its state, what it is trying to deploy. And every time you run the same configuration of the files, it will validate what is my state and what is there in Azure. And then it may try to correct that. Means, let's say if you have changed anything in Azure, but that is not present in your state file, Terraform or Azure Bicep will try to update, put it to the known state. I mean, whatever the desired state in the state files. And Terraform is a no cost and open source. We can use it. Most of the API versions Terraform supports, even the GA or a preview version. Let's say one of the infrastructure is being released in the preview. Most of the times Terraform also try to update and put that API versions into there, so that even the products of Azure infrastructure products which are under preview definitely will be available in Terraform to try out and deploy the infrastructure to Azure. 99% you will find the Terraform what do you call APIs. This is the difference about these three. So let's have a deep look at the how really the Azure Resource Manager template looks like. As I said, it is a JSON format, ARM template. And then let's say you want to have a parameters. Parameters are nothing but when you want to, let's say OS version, and then you have a disk size, right? These are all called as you want to have a premium or a standard or a SKU name. These are all called parameters. Sorry. So this is the smallest one which I have taken. If you see the outputs, these are it look like. This is a complete JSON format. Using this ARM template, you want to do deploy you can have your parameters, you can have the variables, and then you can have your resource. Let's say for this example here, I've given a, if you see here, what we are trying to create, a resource group. Azure resource group we are trying to create. And what is inside? It's a type and then API version and location and the name of the RG. And then this is the smallest resource which in Azure, which has a small piece of code. Creating a resource group is quite easy. It takes a single step. Select the region and select the resource group name and the tags. This is what we do. So location, name, and tags. So this is how it looks like ARM template. And what you're going to do using outputs, you want to know once by deploying this ARM template, you want to know the output. You can mention your code there in the output section, so that once the resource is created, it will show you in the console. Why I just want to make a difference how ARM template looks like, and then we'll move on to the Terraform. How Terraforms looks like. Now we are moving on to Terraform. As I said, HashiCorp Terraform is an open source tool for provisioning and managing the cloud infrastructure. Yes, sir. Yes, the file's entire code will be kept in the configuration file. It is a human readable and declarative. Then what is it required? When you're using Azure DevOps and trying to deploy the resources onto Azure, you can have a service principal, or using the one of the managed service managed service identity in the DevOps. Basic requirement: when you want to use using Azure DevOps and Terraform, you need to have Azure service principal. Yeah. So Terraform can manage, as I said, low level to high level components, like creating a DNS, even deploying SaaS features. You can do maximum all kind of infrastructure deployment of Azure. You can create a key vault. You can create a if you want to deploy a data lake, you can deploy the data lake also. From low level to high level, we can deploy using Terraform. All kinds of things. So Terraform has three items. One is data source and resources, and then we have providers. So if you want to understand Terraform, data source is nothing but an existing components you're trying to fetch. Okay. What is an existing? You're trying to create a VM, and for a VM, you need to have a network. So the prerequisite is what? There should be a VNet and there should be a subnet. From the subnet, you're going to fetch a network card. So it means the pre-existing resources is called a data sources. And a resource. Resource is where the one which you are creating, which is a virtual machine. And then what are providers? Providers are nothing but the plugins. Resource API. I talk about APIs. Virtual machine is an API. If you want to create a virtual machine, there is a ARM API for virtual machine, ARM API for Azure SQL. Like that, there are many. These are the providers. Any questions so far? Vishwas?
Yeah, I don't think so. There are any questions here because you are explaining a lot. I think it was so descriptive. So yeah, I don't think anybody has a question. So guys, if you have any question, just like
Please,
the
please.
older sessions, please do drop it down in the comment section below so that like we can address it in the future.
Sorry. Yeah. So let's move on to the as I said, what is required? The service principal is required when you want to do the Terraform deployment. This is where you put it: the client ID, client secret, tenant ID, and your subscription. Right. And then what is backend? Backend is nothing but if you want to store the state. Now today you are creating a virtual machine and you want to store the virtual machine configuration in the state. That is where you can store your state in the Azure storage account. That Terraform allows Azure Terraform allows to store the state of the virtual machine in the storage account. Here it is. And then we have data sources. As I said, when you're trying to create a virtual machine, you need to know your virtual network, you need to know your subnet. This is what it is. Data sources are nothing but existing resources of Azure. What is a resource? A resource is that you are creating. So in this example, if you find out, I am trying to create a network card and I'm trying to fetch the data from the VNet and subnet. I'm using the providers, the service principal, and I'm storing the configuration. Whatever the network card which I'm creating here, I'm keeping that in the backend. Means if somebody goes and changes these things in the state, if you rerun the Terraform, it will try to put the state back. We'll see that. So this is about resources, providers, and backend. Hope you understand what is data sources and what is resources. This is the key thing in the Terraform when you want to understand. Yeah. Okay, let's go little deep dive into Terraform. There is a Terraform files, and then you have Terraform commands. As I said, it is a provider where you have Azure provider or a AWS provider or a Google Cloud provider where you have your subscription and your backend block. And then you have variables. Variables are nothing but, I'll go detail. Then you have a list. You may have what you call true or false. These are all variables you can declare. We'll see that. And then you have a main block where you have the resources which you are going to create. And then you have output file where whatever the resource you are creating, you can output them. These are the Terraform commands. What happens when you do a Terraform unit? It will initialize everything. I mean, whatever need to be downloaded, it will download the required resources. Then Terraform validate, what it will do? It will check for the validate your code, right? Whatever the code you have written. Terraform plan, one of the feature, it shows what is you are going to deploy to the Azure. That is the use. And then finally, Terraform apply means you're trying to apply that configuration onto Azure. This is the key, Terraform file. These are the Terraform files. Let me show you that. Okay. This is what I talked about. Azure DevOps. You'll have boards. Also, you have a dashboard wiki. Then you have, let's see, go here. This is what I talked about when you're trying to create your project. You can create a Scrum, CMI, and Agile. You can go to my YouTube channel and find out what are the differences, right? Okay, let's see the DevOps project. Here, let's see the code, piece of code. This is my repository, and I have a virtual machine here. This is what we talked about. You see, I have a main file. This is the main, and I have variables file, and then I have outputs, and I have inputs, and I have a config. These are the files. You can put all the. If you ask me, these are all required. No, you can put all the configuration in the single file, which is the one file. Terraform doesn't just, it will look at the configuration file and it will load all the properties in a manner. Terraform does that. Okay, let's see one by one what we have in the config.tf. As I said, what we have, Azure provider block. What is Azure provider block? You have your subscription ID, and then you have your Azure ARA, which is a backend. What I'm doing, I'm creating a VM and I'm storing my VM state into a container. Means whatever the configuration we're trying to do, what is the VM configuration, for example, you're going to have DSV2, premium LRS, and you are going to add a data disk, to the VM, which is a 32 GB. This is the kind of infrastructure as a code. This is your infrastructure code, a single piece of paper, a single piece of code written in a single page, and this this configuration will be deployed onto Azure. And this configuration, whatever we are trying to create the VM, can be stored as a state file. This is about Terraform backend. This is where you, from line 6 to 14, where you store the backend. In case you have multiple subscriptions and you want, why I'm having this? In a real-time scenario, you will not be having a single subscription in enterprise editions, enterprise organizations. You'll have multiple subscriptions. Let's say you have a landing zone where you are running your core services, like a monitoring, you have your shared services. Then you have application workload subscription. Okay, so this is what my monitoring is running here. In this subscription, my monitoring tool is running, but I have my application workload specific subscription. If you want to use, you can use the alias, right? You are going to use both the subscription in this following code. So that is where you can using the alias. You can use multiple providers here, means multiple subscriptions. This is what about config. Let's see variables. You see here, for example, this is the list, right? In the Azure we have multiple zones, right? So what I did, I have a variable which my default values are 1 and 2. When you plan your infrastructure, you can plan your infrastructure into zones. For example, if you take West Europe or North West Europe zone, you have 3 zones in West Europe, right? And then what I have, these are the variables. I'm just declaring the variable. And then if you see here, the type is Boolean. Boolean is nothing but true or false. It will not accept if somebody is trying to delete OSDs is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. It won't accept. Since you declared your variable as a Boolean, right? It will accept either true or false, right? And you are saying variable mdis type, anything, means you are not declaring the variable of data type, right? So you are just declaring a variable and leaving empty, means there is a variable, you can put anything inside that. For example, let's go and see the mdisk type. What is it? I'm going to inputs file. So if you see here, mdisk type, you can put anything, means it will accept all kind of data. But when it comes to what you call the Boolean type, what we have Boolean one. For example, I kept okay, let's go to delete data disk. Okay, you see here, if you give 1 to 3 or any other than true or false, it won't accept. Your code will fail. Thus, this is the example of variables you can declare here, and then for that variables you can declare the inputs. So why we have a separation between inputs and variables? Because we are declaring one time here and we are leaving them empty, so that the user can go and give declarative way, means they can give all the configuration in a single page in the input file. You don't need to rewrite, let's say, now every time you go and change here, right, there is a chance of doing a configuration corruption. So this is where you write all your inputs. For example, here we have a VM name. You can then this is the variable declared. And then the zones you have seen. So these are all the input variables where user will give an input and then run the code. Okay, let's what do we have now? Let me reduce the size. So we discussed about variables. Variables is nothing but it's of data types. What variable you're declaring and what is the data type of the variable. Simple, right? And then you come to inputs. For that variable which you declared in your variable file, you are going to give the input to that. And then those inputs are used in the main TF. Means these inputs, for example, VM name. How I'm going to see, you will see that. VM name, how I'm going to use that. You see? This is the variable dot VM name, which I'm using inside the main file. This is how you, this is all about the Terraform. Why we can't require config, what is it in variables, what is it inputs, and how main. Then outputs. Let's go to outputs. So what I'm doing, I'm printing the virtual machine name. So once the VM is created, I need to know my virtual machine name. Okay, where is this block coming from? Where is the value coming from? Right? let's see that. Go to the main file and try to search. Yeah. This is the block where it is going to print the name of this, right? You are clear. As I said, we have a data source and we have resources. Resource is nothing but you're trying to create. Data source is nothing but which is there and you're trying to fetch the information. Let's maximize this. Okay. Now let's see the configuration. So here, if you see, I have my secrets. I have a key vault where I have a VM username and VM password kept in the secrets. What I'm doing, I'm retrieving the data. These are the data resources. Then what I have, VNet. So I have an existing VNet. Virtual VNet is already created. I'm retrieving that. From that VNet, I'm retrieving my subnet. If you see here, this is the VNet name, which is there. So by this, then the data will be restored, retrieved and kept in the state, local state. Then how you will use them? If you see Azure subnet, see here line 67, you are trying to refer that data source where you're trying to create your network interface. So you're retrieving your data, the existing data of Azure resources, and then you're using them in creation of the new resource of Azure, right? Let's go to the slide again. Yeah, this is what I talked about again. So this is all about Terraform. You can, if you want to store the backend, you want to save the state of the network interface card which you created, right? And you want to ensure the state is preserved. No matter if somebody goes and changes the configuration in the portal directly, when you rerun the Terraform again, it will keep the same state what it is known, what is stored in the storage account. Means there is a desired state configuration you can achieve with the Terraform tool, right? You have a data resource and then you have resources and then you have providers. This is all about Terraform. So this is the main item. Okay. We'll see the creating the pipeline. You can have your artifacts. There are 8 artifacts which can be added into the pipeline, right? When you're creating a pipeline in DevOps, either you can use build artifacts, or you can use Azure repos, or you can have your code resides on the GitHub. You can get that. Even in Jenkins, even in Maven repo, you want to get the code from the all these 8. These are the sources, 8 sources. These are the 8 sources which are going to be input to your pipeline. This is how it looks like. I will show that the Terraform pipeline. We'll see the plan. Basically, what we'll do, we'll try to see the plan, how the Terraform plan looks like. And then you have a release process in between. The release manager will approve after seeing the plan, and he will approve the pipeline so that it gets created the virtual machine. This is how the pipeline looks like. Let's move on to the demo. Before we move on to demo, any questions? I think yes. 11:45. Okay, I'm going to answer this question. Okay, tell about 1 year. Okay, sorry. Okay, okay. You're saying about the beginner. Okay, for the beginner, you're asking Sanskrit. Get the car. Since you're saying I'm having a 1 year of experience, and how do I, yeah, look towards. Yeah, this is the any administrator, Azure admin can look into this Azure DevOps and Terraform. The best way to deploy the infrastructure as a code, using this Terraform. I think maybe the learning curve would be not more than 3 months. If you start today, and then in 3 months you'll be able to start from the beginner to the intermediate level. You can do that. There is a great way of documentation which is available in docs.microsoft.com. If you go there, there is a sample piece of code. If you want to let's say kickstart or Microsoft, they have the GitHub. There they will keep the all kind of Terraform. Let me show that. I guess I'll show that in between. So you can do that. You can you can start good to start. Yeah. Uh, the next question is how to invoke the Ansible playbooks from Terraform. Yes, you can do that using the a local exe command. Basically, the null resource will let you run any kind of command. Either it could be a PowerShell or it could be a playbook or Ansible command. Using null resource, you can trigger the playbooks. Only thing is that wherever you are triggering the Ansible, there should be Ansible installed. That is a prerequisite, right? Ansible should be installed there so that you can run your playbooks. So in the Terraform, there is a null resource where you can do that, which is asked by Rajesh Reddy. Yeah, I replied that. Now, Ashish, sorry. Please explain the difference between backend and data source here. Okay, let's go back again. See, backend is not mandatory. Why we need a backend? Backend is nothing but you would like to know the state. You are creating a virtual machine, right? Or a network card. Let's say for a virtual machine, in this case, in the slide itself, there is a tab. Okay, you're creating a network interface and you're putting your cost center. Tags are important for billing. Okay, there's a best practices. You need to maintain the tags for cost reports, all those automation tags are required for those best practices. You're putting a cost center, you're tagging this to, let's say, cost center 500. Somebody changes the cost center to 600. In the next month, you will not get your cost reports. Maybe the cost will go to a different team, right? So any changes which are done, when you are using a backend and then you rerun the Terraform code, it will revert the change, whoever is done by the person who done on the portal. I will show you that difference. Data source, as I said, it is nothing but a resource which is already existing. You're trying to retrieve the data of that existing resource. Means we are trying to get a data resource of a VNet which is already created. In the Terraform, you're not trying to create a VNet here. In the line number 10, if you see, it is a data resource which you're trying to retrieve the VNet. Means you are validating. If there is no VNet, then when you validate the Terraform, it will tell you that you're in the line number 10, you're trying to retrieve a VNet and so and so name, so and so resource group. I don't see a resource already existing in the Azure, so you will get a failure. So unless until there is an existing resource in the Azure, it will not be able to retrieve the data of that particular Azure resource. When you want to use those resources, when you are trying to create in the network interface, the best example to understand, you're trying to create a network interface card, you need to have a subnet CIDR, right? Subnet CIDR where the network IP will be retrieved. So that is where the difference between backend and the data source. Okay, we'll see the questions again, and then we'll move to the demo and then we'll answer them. Let's go to the portal too. Okay. I was telling the existing resources. Let's go to resource groups. In my network RG, I'm already having a VNet. Okay, this is an existing resource. So today we are going to use this virtual network, the corp VNet 01, and then inside already created subnet. Okay, this is the subnet, window subnet, which is already existing there. So from this one, which we are going to get an IP for the VM, which we are going to create. If you go to the code, if you go to the inputs, what I am trying to refer from line 26 to 27, we are telling in the code, Terraform code, saying that these are the values. Okay, these are the values. What are these values we are trying to do? These are the data sources, or it is going to be resources? These are the key vault name, or these are all existing resources. We are in the code. This is the input variable. In the input variable, how you are doing that, that depends upon the main, right? For example, the VM name, we are using that inside a resource to create. But when it comes to network RG, VNet name, this is we are retrieving as a data in the from line number 10 to 18, right? We're trying to retrieve them. So these are all the Terraform. What it will do, it will validate. If this doesn't exist, Terraform will fail. Yeah. Okay. And then what we're doing, we are retrieving the key vault also. I've kept the VM username and password in the key vault. Let me show you that also. I have a key vault and I have secrets. Okay. I have a username and password is stored here. So while creating a VM, I'm going to retrieve this. Let's say let's regenerate one, put a new version. This is the VM password. I'm putting a new one. Okay. Dev Bangalore. Today's date. Right. Create. Okay. This is the new version which we just created a VM password. Okay. Only the keyword administrator will know what is the password. For you, as a whoever is deploying using DevOps, they don't need to necessarily know the VM password. Let's say application team owns the VM and they should know only the password, right? You don't need to know the VM password even to log in, right? So this is how you can use the key vault integration with the DevOps. And this is the complete VM code. Okay, let's go to the pipeline now. Okay, here as I said, these are the pipelines. We call it as a CA pipelines. And if you go to releases, this is nothing but your release pipelines. And you can have your library, you can have your task groups. In my first in my YouTube channel, you can find out what is it. I explained everything. What are these? You can find out more information on my channel videos. One of the videos. So I don't have any CA pipelines. I have only the release pipelines for today. Okay. So what I have done, I have created a task group. Maybe this. Let's explain that. This is my task group. Okay, the advantage of doing a task group is that you will just refer your task group. Okay, anyone which is under this organization, under this DevOps project, whoever is having access and they want to use this Terraform plan, task group, and they can, for example, how it looks like for a user. Okay, let's see the pipeline. I will create a new pipeline and show you to them, for example. So what I'm doing a new release pipeline, right? I'm not importing it or I'm not creating any folder here. I'm just trying to go and create a new release pipeline. Okay. So in the release pipeline, what I'm doing, I'm going to add an artifact. Where is my source code? Okay. Infrastructure as a code we're talking about. And where is that code? Okay. It is not in the build artifact. It is in the Azure repos. Okay. I have a project, which is a DevOps. Then I have a repository called compute. Okay, this is going to be mine. As I said, we have 5 more artifacts. These are all the artifacts which are available. In case your infrastructure as a code resides in any of it, you can add here. So I'm using the Git of Azure DevOps. I'm adding the So this is my source. Let's say what we will do. The first stage. What the first stage? Windows VM. We're trying to create a Windows VM today. Windows VM plan. This is the first stage. Then again, you will have one more stage. Add a new stage. Okay. The stage name is going to be the Windows VM deploy. Okay. Let's go to pipeline. You name your pipeline. So, for example, pipeline demo. I'm giving a pipeline a name here. What we did, we added the Git repo now, and we created two stages. Okay. For this stage, I'm going to have release approvals. I'm just giving for now myself. This is the release approver for this particular stage. If this pipeline has this stage has to run, means the approver has to approve. So let's go to the now we have just created stages. We have not done any task here. So what I'm doing, I'm going to use the Azure pipelines. I'm not using my self-hosted here. And in Azure pipelines, you have multiple versions of agents. I'm going with Windows 2016. It suffices for me. So what I will do, I need to as what we have shown in the let's go back to the slide. What we are going to do in the Terraform commands, what you are going to do, you're going to be initialize, you're going to validate, and then you have your plan, and then finally you apply it. This is what we have done. So we'll try to see this now. Okay, what is the detailed steps?
Mallikarjun, like, sir, like any other questions like we could schedule now? Like, think,
No problem, we'll address. What is the question, shows?
yeah, I think how to upgrade to the resources, which is like 0.12 to version 1.0. That's what his question was.
Okay, how to upgrade the resource from okay. We need to see when you have you're having a Terraform version and you want to upgrade to the version, right? The main thing you need to look not the Terraform version, also you need to look the ARM version, which is I think the ARM version would be let me go there. If you go to the pipeline, you'll have two actually. You'll be installing a Terraform and then you'll install in the ARM. Okay, this is what it is. The first task, what you will be doing, you will be installing your Terraform version, and then in the provider block, we'll be having the ARM module version. So you need to see what is the current version, and you need to find out whether it is by doing the basic what you call Terraform plan. It will tell you whether is anything deprecated, any warnings you will get. Let me go to the other release. I think release 4 will have a warning. I'll show you that. I will increase the font now. Cannot this one. Okay, let me try to increase the font. You see here, even though I am using the ARM latest versions, a few of the arguments are deprecated. When you run your Terraform plan, when you're trying to upgrade from one version to another version, by the best way of doing it is the running the Terraform plan, so that it will tell you the compatibility of your version. And then there will be a notes in the Terraform documentation. When you're upgrading, you need to look out for the notes. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's one more question. Any resource to learn Terraform for beginners?
There is a, I think in what you call, as I said, You see here, you go to Azure documentation. These were the best way to start. It will tell you, what is it and what everything. Yeah. If you want to use the Terraform as a tool, you see here, you go here. These are the tools available. You click on Terraform. You have a good amount of documentation, and you have a GitHub samples, which is by Microsoft. Uh, virtual machines. I'm here. You could see the docs.microsoft.com, Azure developer and Terraform. I'm here. In there, you see how to guides, and you go to virtual machine infrastructure, right? You see every piece of configuration is sample code is available here. And also, if you go to you go to samples, I think quick start. You see anything you take. Let's say you want to do you want to do a static website using storage account. You can, if you go here, you'll see these files. Once you understand what is Terraform, what is the main file, what is the the variable file, then it will be easy to get into any other the infrastructure deployment. For example, today we're discussing about virtual machine. Let's go to web app, Urban Spoke. No, they don't have virtual machine here. Maybe it is in computer. No, I think they don't have here. Okay. In case Windows not pull, I think they don't have for. Okay. Anyway, I'll post you the link. I think there is another link, or you may jump to Terraform itself. Terraform Azure Compute. Okay, for example, what this guy is given. You see here, there's a main file here. If you click on the main file, this is the there are contributors like me. I mean, who go and write the code and push the publish in Azure. Okay, you see here. I think this is a little complicated one, not for the beginner. He's using a module here. So there are the great examples. Once you go to the documentation here, you'll find all kinds of documentation. Here he is creating a network rule. You see, energy rule is being created here. Great example of how do you can using Terraform you can add a inbound rule. For your network energy. Energy is nothing but this is my common energy. Network security group. Network security group will have inbound and outbound rules, right? Using Terraform, you can do that. This is what is showing here. So this is the great deal of documentation available. To start with, to as a beginner, this is the best source. To start with. Okay, what is the next? Rajesh Reddy. Okay, can you explain how to read subscription ID 1000 client ID secret from keyword in Terraform? Okay, it's already there. What I've done to asking to the question. Sorry for that. Let me reduce the font. How to use the keyword in the Terraform. Okay. What I've done, if you see here, there is a library. Okay. In the library, you can have your, you can read the subscription ID, client ID, and everything from the keyword. If you go to the keyword here, I have already here. Okay. My client ID, tenant ID, client secret already kept in the key vault. Now, during the Terraform deployment, you're going to retrieve these secrets in the pipeline. How you can do that? By going to the pipeline library. Okay. Let's say you add your new variable group. Okay. Let's say I'm having a demo. What I'm saying, if you see option here, link secrets from an Azure Key Vault as a variable. Okay. You click that one. As I said, for a DevOps, there is a service principle is required in the first steps when you create create your organization. Okay, organizations are nothing but these are my organizations which I have Azure Qatar and Azure Abu Dhabi and myself. Then I have my personal. These are the organizations. In our organizations, you can create your project. Once you go to the project, you need to have a service principle here. When you go to project settings, you'll see the service connection, right? So many service you can add your GitHub service connection, you can have your AK service connection. If you go to new service connection, it supports more than 150. Okay, more in case you have Python package subscription, you can add all your service connections here. So like that, this is the initial setup what you need to do when you create your. So I already have a service connection here. What I'm doing, I'm already having it. Okay. So what it will, this service connection has certain access in Azure. Okay. This service connection will know what key vaults are existing. This is the only existing in my entire subscription. Okay. Let's go back again. Let me go to subscriptions. I have my only one subscription. In my subscription, I'll try to go to my resources. Okay. Resource type. I'm trying to filter on the resource type. You see here, I have only one key vault in entire subscription. I have multiple storage accounts. I have virtual networks. I have NSGs. I have login workspace, and then only one key vault. Okay. For example, if you have another key vault, definitely it will show you here when you refresh it. Now I have only one. For example, now you say add. See all these which are coming from the key vault. Let's go back to the key vault. Okay. For example, let's say we create one now. Demo. I just created a secret. Just okay. Now it's not password. Okay. Where is it? Library. Okay. Cancel it. I'm trying to refresh. You see here demo came, right? Whatever the secrets which are available in key vault, it will retrieve. Okay. So here you can go and add, let's say for this example, what you need as Rajesh asked, he is looking for a tenant ID client secret and client password. You go here and you add it. And then you use them in the Terraform pipeline. Simple. This is how you do it. If you save it, and then let's go to the library, you'll find this. And then you're trying, okay, how do I, now library, the variable group is created, and how do I use that in the pipeline? Okay. Where is the new pipeline? This is the new pipeline. Okay. You go to variable groups and you link your variable group. This is your variable group just be created. So that this is how you can use the tenant ID client ID during the pipeline run. Okay. Now for this, link it. Okay. Any other question? Now, Ashish is asking a question. So if resources don't exist, we store it in a state and retrieve it from there. In perspective, no, resource doesn't. While see, when we store the state, when we are trying to create a resource, we store the state, and also you can import the state of the already created resource into a state file. Two things you can do: either the existing ones you can import the state, or while creating the resource, you can keep that state. Okay. If a resource is not existing, you cannot import them or you cannot store them in a state. Either resource should be while creation you can store it, or the resource should be existing inside Azure to import the state, right? If resource is not there, you cannot means there is no state for it. Object doesn't exist. Okay, we were there at the pipeline. As I was telling, I was using the Azure pipelines, and then I go here. What I'm going to do, you see here, I've created a task groups. Means the rework is less here. You know, when you create a task group, you can use the where is the task group here? This is the advantage of a task group. You can have the series of steps in the pipeline as is shown in the presentation, right? If you want to write every time when you're trying to create a pipeline, every time you have to write all these steps. But when you're trying to use the task groups, so one time it's a kind of a template. You're going to call the template. So right. So let's say you add it and you put your configuration directory here. What you're going to create the virtual machine. That's it. And you say your whatever it is. Your Windows plan, whatever you want to write, and you see the task group, and if you see the version which is coming from the you can change here. You know, let's say the new version is 1.0.3, you can update here. So these are the task group. You will not see any kind of task inside when you're going to create a task group. For example, what I need to do, right? Terraform. Okay. In case if you don't have a task group, and then I need to add, this is the install, is install task, and then init task. Maybe you want to validate, then one more. You can clone the task. It is going to be plan. So this is that is what there in the presentation. You have install the Terraform, init the Terraform, validate it, and plan it. Right? This is what this. Yeah, you see here. Install it, initiate it, validate it, and plan. But instead of that, what I'm doing, I'm already having that in the task group. I'm doing the same thing in the command line. This is my task group. Okay, let's remove them. There are many ways to do. Is the since I'm showing the best way, the best practices here, which reduces the human effort in creating multiple Terraform pipelines. Okay, so user will have a. You need to just point your. Let's say tomorrow you're going to create a Ubuntu pipeline, for example. You need to just point your. Let's say assuming you are creating a new pipeline, you go to virtual machine and you just create. You select the Ubuntu VM. Here you say Ubuntu plan, right? That's how you see that. And then what we have plan here, same thing here. We have using same agent, and what we are going to use apply means what apply task group says. Again, you select your directory. Now we are selecting Ubuntu directory, saying tf Ubuntu deploy. Okay, the version. Okay. Now if you see here, we created the compute the repo where the code exists. Now we are able to have two stages here, and this stage has a approval. Okay, and let's go back to the task groups and we see the other apply. What apply does inside? Nothing but it will initialize and it will apply. So these are my having it. What I'm doing in the task group, I'm having a series of tasks which are grouped together and it can be utilized as a template in a multiple pipelines. This is the use of the Terraform task groups. Okay, you can create any number of task groups. Okay. So let's go back to the release pipeline again. I just created a release. Since I'm using Microsoft Agent, it will take a little time here.
I just wanted to ask, like, what if we use a different infrastructure as a code platform? Like Pulumi is there, Crossplane. There are a lot of other platforms
The
like
Terraform is common. You can,
Terraform.
this is what Terraform is common. There won't be any changes.
Yeah, and also like
Core
I
concepts.
just had this question of like, what if the resource group is not allocated, but we have it assigned in a Terraform file? What might
Yeah,
happen?
but if it is not existing, it will fail.
Okay.
That is called data sources. When you say data source should exist. Otherwise, Terraform will say no, I'm not able to find. Then I will not be able to deploy that resource to the tag. I mean, whatever the input you are given.
Hmm.
You want to increase the
Got it.
font here.
Yeah.
So Windows Agent is okay. What we are doing? Okay, this is the plan. Let's see the plan. So what you did, we initialized the job. The agent got assigned for us in the during the initialization. It took some time, and then what happened? Like as Rajesh Reddy asked, we downloaded the secrets, the tenant ID and client secret from the key vault to use in the pipeline. Okay, then we downloaded the artifacts. Artifacts is nothing but infrastructure as a code. What is infrastructure as a code? This one. We are trying to create a Windows VM. This complete code is being deployed there. I mean, downloaded there. Okay, and then the secrets. Then we we used it at a task group. In task group, we have two tasks in a task group. One is installing, and then one is the plan. So we install the required version here. The task is successful. Let's see the plan. It has initialized the backend. Means it verified. Backend initialization is nothing but it will validate whatever you kept in the config.tf. Okay, it will check. Initializing is nothing but it is going to validate. If you say you don't have a storage account here, it will fail, saying that I'm unable to initialize because of the storage account is not existing. Okay, so it downloaded the required ARM, Azure ARM thing, the plugins. Okay, and okay, Terraform has been successfully initialized, line number 28, and here we go. This is the plan. So what it is showing, what it is first it is creating the delete. Okay, so this is what you get when you are trying to. One second, guys. Okay, 3 to add, 0 to 10, 0 to change. Oh, okay, fine. So what we are trying to create here. Okay, I'll not explain this minus because I did something else. So what I will do, my Terraform RG, I'll go to my backend storage account. I will delete the key, assuming that a fresh key. I'm deleting it. Okay, what we'll do, we'll redeploy the same again. You can do that. Okay, there's no harm in doing that in case if you there is no change in the code. Okay, you're going to read in the pipeline. You're trying, this is a second attempt. Let me reject this. Okay. Okay, now let's create a new release. creating a new release pipeline. It took some time for the agent to be available. Microsoft agent. Okay, here we go. Downloading artifacts. You see the key is being created by Terraform. We just deleted the key file. Now during the initialization in the backend, it created the new one. Okay, this is the Terraform plan is completed. What is the latest release? Release 6 is the latest. Release 7. Okay. It is successful. Let's see the plan. We were about to see the plan that time. Initialization is successful. Now, if you see here, what it is doing, it is creating the network interface card. Okay. So this is where the it has read the entire subnet ID, and it is presented here. In the configuration, you have nowhere given in the Terraform, right? We have just mentioned that in the data resource. This is my VNet name and this is my subnet name. So what happened while during apply, it retrieved the resource ID. Hope you know the resource ID of the Azure resources. Then the public IP will be get created, and then the virtual machine. So we are today what we are doing, 3 resources will be created. So what the plan shows that 3 will be added. Okay, let's this is going to be the output. Okay, Terraform outputs. We have said what is the virtual machine name we should know while creating it. After creating it, let's go to the another stage. What it is waiting for the release manager to approve release process. Meanwhile, we'll try to, yeah, it is just started. Let's go back to the code and see what we have given in the inputs. Okay, we'll try to see what we're trying to do. We are creating a node count of number of VMs. We're going to create one VM. VM name is so and so, and let's say application workload name. It is how you want to write your Terraform code. It all depends upon you. But this is not the way. Let's say you want to create a VM name in a single statement. You can do that. But what I'm trying to do, I'm taking 2 inputs from the user and trying to create I'm preparing a server name here inside, and I'm going to use inside the virtual machine creation. Okay, it's all about how you want to use the Terraform. I'm saying public IP is required. If it is false, then you will not see the public IP will be created. So these are all the variables, and I have selected this SKU, and this is a premium LRS, and this, and where this VM is going to be deployed in the common RG. Yeah, these are all the inputs we have given. Okay, and what is the what you call the OS image we are taking from the marketplace of Azure, which is the Windows 2019 data center. And line number 36, in case if you have your own custom VHD, means you have your own, like using HashiCorp or Packer, Packer is the tool which either Azure Image Builder or a HashiCorp Packer. Using those tools, you can build the images, the custom images in enterprise, in environments. Means you have your own requirement. You need to have a semantic installed, right? By default, a simple example, you need to have your antivirus software need to be installed on the computer on your enterprise Windows machine. So those things you can pre-configure and take that as an image, and then you can use that image for the virtual machine deployment. You can do that, or you simply take the marketplace image. These are what the inputs we have given, and I have these tags. These are all the current inputs. Based on these inputs, and this main file will be constructed during the run. Okay, during the pipeline run. Oh, it's done. It took only 1 minute to create the virtual machine. Okay. So what is the? You see the outputs. What you are printing in the output. Once the virtual machine is being created, I would like to know what is the virtual machine name. I would like to know what is my IP address. Okay, I need not to go on Azure and look it, go to the VM blade and look what is the name or not what is the IP. During the Terraform itself, you can write your outputs. It's easy, the quickly for a release manager or you want to complete your task. Okay, simply you take the details and share it to the user to the email, right? Quickly. In case if you want to go to the what do you call here, go to common RG. This is where we mentioned, right? In case if you want to know the VM name, here is the VM name. Okay, what is the private IP address? 10.0.0.1.4. Right? See, this is what the Terraform outputs. You can print anything what we being created. You can print a nickname, a network interface card name, or now we printed IP. Even you can print the public IP name also here. But for the demo exercise, I just selected few. So what we created in this, if you see the creation steps, simple. These are the things. What it did, it created a public IP, then it created network interface card. I think it completed in 6 seconds. Nick, I think 8 seconds it created the public IP, and then in 34 seconds it created the virtual machine. See how fast it is, In case if you want to, for example, go to common RG and create a VM, right? You have to, it's the same thing. You have to go each menu, and you need to ensure if you manually you are going to create all these menus, you have to perfect every time. Okay, when you are you should not miss any of the single item when you're trying to create a VM on the portal, right? So you need to ensure it's a human effort basically. Is a you need to spend time and see, ensure, and then finally go and review and see what is it. So all this effort is reduced, when it comes to the creation of the pipe using the DevOps and Terraform, right? Okay. So what we have now, what we'll do, for example, now let's change. Okay. Somebody went and changed. Okay, what it changed? So now there is a state which is created here in the storage account. It knows, Terraform knows that there is a virtual machine deployed, and its entire configuration will be available in the storage account. This is a backend storage account. So in this file, our VM configuration is stored. You can want. So now somebody is doing change there. Okay, what I'm doing? What is the current size? What we have taken the current SKU is standard DTS v3. We'll change it to standard DTS v4. Yes, v3. V3. Okay. So I'm resizing here. I'm doing a change in the portal. It takes 2 minutes, maybe 1 minute. So what I'm trying to show you here, what happens if somebody is changing the configuration, and what happens when you rerun the pipeline. There is no code change here. I'm not going to change any of the code here. If you see here, if you click on this the code is changed last yesterday only. I have not touched today anything. Yesterday I written these files. That's all. So there is no change into the configuration. Now what happened? We changed in the portal. Okay, meanwhile, let's take the questions if you have any. Okay, no questions, sorry. Okay, now the resize is done. Now, when you go to size, what is size now? So now if you see here, size is D2S, D2AS V4. Okay, let's read the pipeline. I will close in 5 minutes. I know it is lunch time. I think we extended a little. Sorry for that. Pipeline is quite fast. If you see here the number of time, the time each task is taking. Okay, let's see the plan now. You see, it has detected the change. Means the when during the creation it stored a state which is DTS v3. Somebody changed it. When you rerun the configuration, it will tell you in the Terraform plan. So I'm going to change one. Let's see that. We have seen the plan. Now we're trying to deploy it. So these are, you can have your kind of a desired VM configurations. If you don't want to, okay, you don't want to persist any state, right? You can remove this block. This is not a mandatory block, backend block. You can remove it. Not only the VM size, even you change the tag, whatever the VM during the VM creation, whatever you have given, any change to that, it definitely detect it and it'll try to update during the next run. This is about the Terraform backend. Okay. Any of the, you should be careful when you are using the backend. There is a chance that it may destroy the object, not updating it. So you need to plan carefully when you're trying to use the backends. This is one of the tip when you're trying to, when you go to production workloads, right? You need to ensure if there is any change onto any of the property and it is trying to delete and recreate one, then it is harmful, right? You lose whatever you have in that. If there is an update, fine. It is going to change this. So you need to ensure that there is nothing to destroy, nothing to add. Okay. When if the Terraform detects any change and if it is trying to destroy, you need to be careful. It is trying to update the, it is trying to put back to the known state what it stored. It's already there. So you see, changed. It's simple as that. Okay. It's already updated. Done. Right. It's completed. Succeeded. It got the backend, from the ARM update, it got the backend change and the pipeline got succeeded. This is all about the using the Azure DevOps. You can use the the infrastructure automation. This is the piece of code. This is all about your infra code resides here. Like this, you can deploy all kinds of Azure resources. Even if you want to deploy the AKS, Kubernetes, or you want to deploy the storage account, or you want to create your resource group, all the any kind of most of the resources Azure resources you can deploy using the Azure DevOps and Terraform. Okay. Any further questions we can answer? Any questions, Vishwas? Vishwas, you there? Okay, that's all for today. No further questions. Thank you.